Hello, my name is Dale Wilhite. I'm right now near Panama City, Florida. I'm at home. If you want to find anything about me, go to MySpace, Facebook, or Twitter, where I have an account. This pitch here, concept pitch, is about runaways and how to help a lot of these runaways who end up on the city streets in LA, Las Vegas, New York City, whatever, to avoid being easy prey for the pimps and the drug pushers and a few pedophiles out there. A lot of runaways, believe it or not, run away for, their reasons for running away are sometimes justified. They could be living in a neighborhood that's gang infested, and they're in danger every 24 hours that they're there. I mean, we all know that. Some live in an abusive home, but it's not abusive enough for them to be taken out. Some are just completely neglected. Some live in such poverty that it wouldn't make any difference if they lived on the street and were homeless, because it's just unbearable, to live in a certain home where it's just absolute poverty. So basically what I'm saying is that sometimes kids run away, and maybe a lot of times it's justified. That doesn't mean I condone it. It just means that it's justified in their eyes. Just because it may not be justified in the eyes of the state doesn't mean the state's necessarily right. So what I'm trying to do here is pitch an idea that might help save some of these runaways, justified or not, for running away, from becoming, let's say, again, easy prey for the drug pushers and the pimps. And I could tell you story after story about seeing runaways in my lifetime and some of the things that they get themselves into. It's just horrifying. Anyhow, it's my belief that if a teenager runs away and the teenager makes contact with somebody who can contact the parents and the state from which they came from, and the state in which they run to if they've gone to another state, and the state determines that it's probably justified, or even if it's not justified, the parent or parents would still be responsible, financially responsible for their welfare. You see, just because a child runs away doesn't mean the parents are no longer financially obligated to support that child. That's what I'm trying to tell you. If they're able to. I don't care if it's $10 a month. The state would have to decide, or, what amount. Of course, that child would have to, or teenager would have to make certain sacrifices. Would probably have to go to a shelter somewhere, but not so much like a homeless shelter. This would be a center, a really nice center for runaway teens to go to, that'll keep them off the street. It's partly funded by parents, or a parent or parents who send money to the teens to help pay for their food, clothing, shelter, and hopefully they can continue their education. The fact of the matter is that we just can't allow parents whose children have run away to be completely relieved of their financial responsibility to their runaway teenager. That's what I'm trying to say here. They're still responsible for them, and that means primarily financially. Now, again, there's a lot of details, that would have to be worked out. It's not as simple as it sounds. Like I say, the teenager would probably have to agree to live in a runaway center. Again, but it wouldn't be like a homeless shelter. It would be a nice place, have privacy, have showers. Again, would have something really nice. And they're not necessarily prisoners. There's just basic restrictions there. But those kind of teens, if the state believes that they're justified, well, then they can live there till they're 18 at least, or until they finish high school. And of course they have to abide by certain rules. If the teen's not justified, but the state determines that this child is not going to go back, no matter what they do, well, that child, or teenager to be exact, can stay there as well. And the parent are still financially responsible. Again, some parents may not be, but most can be. And it doesn't matter how little the money is, it's something. That's how we can save a lot of runaways from the streets and from becoming prostitutes. When I lived in Vegas, I saw a lot of runaways there. It's unbelievable the number I've seen before. And those drug pushers and those pimps, they're looking for them. They're out there scouting around every day for them. And I can remember in Denver, Colorado, actually in Aurora, Colorado one time, near the gates of Fitzsimmons Army base on East Colfax. I can remember this guy telling me that this girl was standing over here at the door of sleazy convenience store was a runaway. Guess who she was surrounded by? Drug pushers and pimps. And she was trying to get out of there. And I called the police. They came and got her out of there. And then they arrested two of the people for doing men there that were trying to do something to her, or trying to take her away, I think. And luckily, she was saved. They're out there. And these centers at least give these runaways a place to go. I would hope they would take these centers and move them kind of out of the city so they wouldn't be an attraction into the inner cities. You just want to make it possible for children that have to run away, and they're justified to have a place to go. But even those who are not justified, and you have to remember this, that a lot of them will go back home, but some of them are not. And just because they don't want to go home doesn't mean they should be thrown out there on the street and left broke and say, well, if you don't want to go home, well then too bad. Screw you. We don't care about you. You're nothing. A lot of these kids end up dead. Thank you for your time.